In this video, we're going to show you how to make three-dimensional points and vectors using Geogebra. So when you open up a new Geogebra sketch, you're going to choose the 3D calculator. You might want to get rid of the keyboard here just so you have a little bit more room. And we'll get right to it. So starting to create a point, you're going to choose the point tool up on the top left. And I'm going to basically, it tells you click on the graphics view or line to function or curve to choose a point. Now when you see that, you can see you get this crosshair up here. This crosshair is actually on the XY plane. So the red is the x-axis, the green is the y-axis, and the blue is the z-axis. And so the first step in plotting a point is to plot where that point is going to be on the XY plane. So let's say I want to plot the point 3, 1, and I found that it's not super easy to get exact with points, so I'm just going to get around where I want to be. So this is about where I think 3, 1 is. And when I do that, you'll note that on the top left, it shows me where I did actually plot, so I was relatively close to 3, 1. And then as I hover over the mouse, it gives me arrows to go up or down. If I click on that point again, it gives me a change in view. So when it's like this, that means now I can drag that point vertically at the point where the X and Y values are. Or if it's like this, I can drag it in the XY plane. So I want to drag this vertically up, let's say to about 4. And I can actually look at the coordinates on the left-hand side to see when I'm close to 4 and let go. And at that point, I can actually fix my coordinates up. So I can actually just click into the point. It's got, for some reason, 5 decimal places, which seems to be unnecessarily exact, but I can move that over, get rid of the decimal places for the XY coordinates, and now I have my point 3, 1, 4. So that's as easy as it is to plot a point. To plot a vector, that's relatively easy as well. So there's 2 ways to do that. I'm going to show you one way first, and let's say we want to draw a position vector from the origin to the point A. That's pretty simple to do. We can go and choose vector from the line tool, and you can see it's a select starting point and then end point. So my starting point is going to be the origin, and you'll see that it wants to draw the vector in the XY plane first, but I want to go to the point A, and so I can actually just select A, click on it, and it creates the vector 3, 1, 4. It also creates an origin point at 0, 0, 0. I don't need the origin point, so I can actually delete that, and you can see that labeling disappears there. And it's ready for me to draw another vector. And so I'm going to draw another vector when the point doesn't exist. So say I want another position vector. So I want to click on the origin to start. And much like when we drew the point, it's looking for a value on the XY plane. So I'm going to choose that value here arbitrarily. And I can now go up or down. I'm going to go up again to make the point D. And let's say I wanted that to be a little bit cleaner than that. So I'm going to make that point. I can actually make it anything I want. I can change the coordinates entirely, but I'm going to just keep it close to what I had there. And I'm going to go -2, 1, 5. And I've got 2 points and position vectors to those 2 points. They're labeled U and V, and you can see the position vectors here. Again, it creates another point at the origin. I don't need that. I can uncheck it. I can't delete it because if I do delete it, it will delete that vector, but it's there. Now, note that I can now scroll and zoom around the view. So clicking and dragging on the graph lets me change the view. If I want to zoom in, I literally just put my mouse where I want to zoom in on and scroll the mouse in or out. And so scrolling, if I wanted to zoom in on this spot, it zooms in on that spot or zooms out from that spot. And so you just have to sort of get used to the idea that it's zooming in or out to wherever your mouse is placed. Now, if I wanted to, I could change the color of these vectors. So if I right click on that vector U, I can choose object properties and choose color. So maybe I want that to be orange. And maybe I want to do the same thing for the vector V, and I want that to be blue. And so now I've got 2 vectors and 2 points. I might want to take those points and turn them on or off by just clicking on their values. But for now, what I want to do is I want to show you that you can also draw a vector from one point to another point. So if I wanted the vector AD, I can go back to my line tool, choose vector, and choose the starting point A, and then the starting point D. And I get the vector AD. Now notice it labels that W. Maybe I want to label that AD, and so I can actually just click into here and change that to AD. You'll also notice that it gives AD as the position vector even though it's going from A to D, and that's fine. So now that I have my 3 vectors, my 2 position vectors and the point-to-point vector, I'm actually going to get rid of this guy here. I can actually turn this point-to-point vector into a position vector relatively quickly. We already know that it's a position vector here as -5, 1, but rather than plot that point and graph it, we can actually choose that position vector, and since we want it to start at the origin, we can choose the origin. So first we're going to actually just make sure that we have a point on the origin that is on. So one of the C's here is going to be on. I'm going to go to the line tool and choose vector from a point. It says choose a starting point and a vector. So my starting point is going to be the origin. You can see it selected here on the left-hand side now, and this vector, and it creates that position vector from the origin that matches AB, so that I can actually now scroll around and you can see that that is definitely parallel to the given vector there. And that's pretty much as hard as it needs to be to plot points and graph vectors in 3 dimensions using GeoGebra.